Hey everyone, the Artificial Trainer here, back with another video. Before we get into today's topic, I want to just let you know we have a Discord set up now. Some of the members of the community have been helping out with that, and I think it's going to be a really great place for all of us to learn and to share what we've created. So if you haven't already, go check that out. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So I have a 4090 spun up here. We are going to be going through EasyAnimate. They just released their version 5.1, and it's pretty good. It's probably the best like MimicMotion. You know, you put a driving video in and a reference image, and you get a video out. It's probably the best model that I've seen so far to be able to accomplish that. So let's connect to our instance here just for the pod settings. If you're using run pod, I'm on a 4090 using the PyTorch 2.4 image, 20 gigabytes of container disk, 200 of volume. You actually don't need 200, you could probably use about 100, but I was working on some other stuff, so I bumped that up a little bit. And then make sure you expose ports 8888 and 3000. All right, so let's connect to our Jupyter Lab. All right, and then I have a shell script that I posted to my Patreon, so head over to my Patreon and grab that. We're gonna go through the install, but I would recommend just running the shell script and then following along for the rest of the video to understand what the shell script's doing, because I'm going to skip through some of the parts of the shell script that are kind of boring, and then also it's probably just it would be very time consuming and tedious for me to show all of that on here because there's a couple nuances to the install script that I'll go through. Alright, so we're going to download that and throw it into our Jupyter Lab. Now let's take a look at the script. First thing you'll notice is there's some places here to put in your HuggingFace information. So this does require Flux, and Flux requires you to get approval from Black Forest Labs to use the model. You just need to click a button and say I agree to the terms of services, but you do have to do it. So let's go over to HuggingFace, and I'll show you how to create that token. So I'm signed in here to my profile. You want to click in the top right on the profile and go down to Access Tokens, and then Create New Token. All you really should need for this is a read token. We're not going to be doing any writing to HuggingFace, so just call it, for this I'll call it EasyAnimate. I'm going to delete this token right after I make this video, so right after I do the install, so I'm going to show you the actual token, but in real life you should never share the token with anyone ever. So let's create it. Here is my token, and then let's head back and paste this in, and then we're going to go to Flux and make sure that we have access to use Flux. All right, so let's do a find replace. So I'm going to find your HF token, and I'm going to replace it with the token. So let's do a replace all on that. And then the only other thing you need to do is replace your HF username. So my username is the Artificial Trainer. I'm going to throw that in there, and we should be good to go on the install script. So I'll just talk you through this real quick, and then we'll install it. Oh, sorry, actually, real quick, let's go back and make sure we have access to the Flux models. All right, so Flux1 dev. All right, yeah, so here I haven't gotten access yet, so I need to hit this agree and access repository. And then let's just make sure that transferred over to the Flux1 dev Laura. the depth and cannulas, I'm using those in the workflow. Yep, so we also need to agree to these separately. So do that for depth and also the canny Laura. All right, and then you'll see, so the reason we did that is we're downloading the Flux.1 dev model, and then we're also downloading the depth and canny Lauras as well. Okay, so let's walk through this install script real quick, and then we'll install it. So the first thing we're doing is we're installing ComfyUI. Then we're installing ARIA 2, which is going to help us download models faster. We're setting up a virtual environment and activating it. We're upgrading pip and then using pip to install requirements.txt. Then we're downloading a bunch of custom nodes that are going to be helpful, that are used in the workflow. We have the Video Helper Suite, ComfyUI Manager, Chris Tools, which just helps with like monitoring, Comfy Essentials, Comfy Easy Use, KJ Nodes, and then Reactor for face swapping. Okay, so after we have all those nodes downloaded, we're getting into our models. So this here downloads the Flux.1 dev model. And then after that, we download the Flux VAE model. And just a note, if you aren't on Linux, if you're on like Windows or something, you can just manually download these and then follow where this -d is. That's the directory you put it in. So all of these are under everything's in reference to the ComfyUI directory. So this directory means put the Flux.1 dev model in the models, in the ComfyUI directory, in the models directory, in the unet directory. So ComfyUI/models/unet, wherever your ComfyUI install is. Okay, so next we're going to download the VAE. Same thing. We're putting it into the VAE folder, which is inside the models folder, which is inside the ComfyUI folder. So again, if you're on Windows, you just need to remember that these folders are in reference to the ComfyUI folder, and you can just download them and drag and drop them wherever you need. All right, and then we're installing our text encoders or our clips. Okay, and then comes our EasyAnimate install. So we're using this HFD file, which allows us to download a full HuggingFace repository. This is just like a single file on GitHub. You can go to this link to look at the raw file. After that, we are cloning the EasyAnimate repository. So this is created by the creators of EasyAnimate, and they gave us ComfyUI nodes built into that. And then we're installing the requirements for EasyAnimate. After that, we need the EasyAnimate models. So we have to put the models inside the ComfyUI folder. We create this folder structure, right? So inside ComfyUI, we have the models folder. Inside of that, we're creating an EasyAnimate folder. And then inside of that, we're creating this EasyAnimate v1 or v5.1-12b, etc. Okay, and then from there, we're installing everything that's in this HuggingFace directory. So if we copy that and we throw it in here, so we're installing all of these files with a single call, which is super convenient. And that is where you needed to add in your HuggingFace username and your HuggingFace token. Okay, and then after that, we're installing the depth and canny Lauras for Flux. These are going to make it so that we can create a first reference frame for EasyAnimate to use the driving video to animate the image. And then we just install the ControlNets. This creates like the ControlNet maps for putting into EasyAnimate. Okay, And then the last thing down here is just some, it kind of speeds up the software, or how the software runs. There's a lot of Onyx being used within this, and we want to make sure Onyx is running on the GPU, because otherwise it really runs slowly. And similarly, this also helps with that Onyx install. Just make sure we have the right CUDA installed for our version of CUDA. Okay, and then the last thing we do is we start ComfyUI. All right, so there's a lot there. I really recommend, if you're on Windows and you can't get this working, head over to my Discord. I'll help you out with it. We also have some great members on the community who might jump in even before I can get to it. So really recommend you to head over to the Discord if you're having trouble with this install. All right, so let's run this in our pod. All right, so the way we do that is just bash Patreon _easyanninstall.sh. All right, and then this is probably going to take between 5 and 10 minutes to install. So when it's done, I'll see you then. All right, so install is done, and we can head over to ComfyUI. So head back to your pod, hit connect, and then hit HTTP service 3000. Okay, so now we have ComfyUI installed with all of our requirements. And the next thing we're going to do is drag the workflow in, and I'll walk you through how it works, and then we will generate a couple examples. All right, so head over back to that Patreon post and grab the JSON file. All right, so that downloaded, and we're just going to drag it in. Okay, looks a bit complicated at the start, but essentially all we have here is a Flux image generator and then our EasyAnimate sampling. All right, so this group here is basically straight from the EasyAnimate example. This down here, I'm just kind of modifying some of the modifying the uploaded video so that it fits within the parameters that EasyAnimate requires. And then up here, we're using a depth map to generate an image. So I'll walk you through it node by node, and then we'll generate one. All right, so let's start at the bottom left here. We're gonna upload a driving video. So I'm gonna upload a video here. All right, and I'm gonna go with this woman talking one. So this should upload in here, and you can see it's a pretty clear picture of a woman talking. This is actually AI generated as well, so you can see the hands are a little bit messed up, and we may see our video reflect some of that. If you use a real life person, you probably will get better results because there won't be as much blurring around the movement. I just find that AI just makes it very easy for me to create some data sets quickly. Okay, next thing we're going to select how many images. So here I'm selecting 98 images, and then I'm selecting every second image within those 98. So EasyAnimate requires 49 frames. So if I'm loading 98 frames and then selecting every second, that gives us 49 frames. You could select, what would that be? If we do 49 times 3, you could select 147 frames and select every third frame, and then you could use Rife interpolation at the end to get it back to the frames per second you want. But we're just going to start with this. This gives us a slightly longer video while still being able to fit it within the 49 video length. All right, so the next thing we do is resize the image. This is one of the resolutions that EasyAnimate gives us. If you go to their GitHub, you can see the rest of them. I believe this is the only one that fits on 24 gigabytes of VRAM, but I haven't tested it. If you would like, you can go and test some of the other ones. All right, and then we have a DW pose estimator in here. You can also use a depth map, so like depth anything. And you can also use Canny as well. I'm actually going to switch this over to depth anything just because I think that it gives a bit better results, but the cost is that you can't, the cost is that it's not going to stray much from the original subject, right? So like the subject's body type isn't going to change and their hair isn't going to change very much. So that's the trade-off with depth anything versus open pose, but I do think it gives you a little bit of a better video. All right. So eventually that depth anything map will be passed into the EasyAnimate sampler, but for now, let's go and check out this next piece. So we're going to select the first image from our video. That's what this node does. And we're going to pass this to, this kind of like sets a variable, kind of like in computer programming. So we're setting that variable first image to be the first image from the video. And then I'm passing that in with this get node up here. So we're taking that first frame of the video. We're also getting a depth map. And then we're passing that into pix-to-pix conditioning for our Flux generation. So we're going to generate an image based on the first video frame from our driving video. So this up here is just basic Flux. All the models were downloaded for you. One thing to note is it does download both the Canny and the depth LoRa's. I found the depth LoRa to be a lot better than the Canny one. So just, you can also, there's also full models that you can replace the Flux One dev with that are both dev or depth and Canny models. But I think the LoRa is just easier to use. So make sure you match, if you use depth anything here, make sure you're using the depth LoRa loader. If you use Canny here, make sure you use the Canny LoRa. All right, and then so we're passing this instruction pix-to-pix conditioning into our K-sampler with the model. And then we're generating a video or an image based on the depth map we got from the first frame of the video. All right, so after that, we're going to pass that image as a reference image into our EasyAnimate sampler. And we're also going to clean up the VRAM because I was finding that I would get some out of memory issues. I think maybe the Comfy memory management, it doesn't work well with either Flux or the EasyAnimate sampler for some reason. All right, so now we get into EasyAnimate. So these are the settings that you're going to want to use for EasyAnimate. This Q float, I've tried to use this model CPU offload and I always get an error, so I've just been sticking with the Q float version. And then for your config, make sure you choose the v5.1, and same thing for your model. We're using the v5.1 control. All right, and these are just like the default prompts. Let's put in, let's go for a beautiful woman with long hair talking to the camera. All right, and then it actually gives us a sample negative prompt here, so I'm just going to use their sample. All right, so then we pass the model and the positive and negative prompts in, as well as our depth anything control video and our reference image that we generated with Flux, which is based on a depth map of the first frame of the control video. And then from there, we're going to do a reactor pass. So this is going to, so a lot of these samplers like MimicMotion, EasyAnimate, they kind of mess with the face a little bit, kind of make the face grainy. There's a lot of small face movements in videos in general. which makes it difficult for these samplers. So we're going to do a reactor face swap just to clean up the face, and then we're going to output our video. All right, so that's how this workflow works. So let's run one, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, so you can see that's a pretty solid generation. The hands are a little messed up, but this is you can see the hands are messed up in the driving video too. So if you use like real footage, not AI generated footage like I did, you'll probably get better generation, especially with the hands. Let's try another style. Let's try animated this time, and let's see how it does with that. Yeah, just a note. You might get some out of VRAM issues. It should clean the VRAM issues it should clean the VRAM when you get those. If you ever get into a situation where the VRAM's like really stuck, like you can't get rid of it, if you just restart the server, it'll clean up all of the VRAM. Yeah, these nodes are a bit messy. The memory management on them isn't very good. I think EasyAnimate mostly just put these out to prove that their model works. They didn't really try to like optimize the ComfyUI nodes. So maybe one day in the community, someone will try to do some optimization, and we'll get some better nodes that work better. All right, so let's run it again. Okay, the anime style is actually, it's almost exactly like the real video. Even the hands are pretty close. So now let's try something completely different. Let's try not a person. I have this AI generated video of a dog. And let's see if we can change this dog into a cat. We'll see how this works. No idea if it'll work, but we'll try it and we'll see. Okay, and it actually does a pretty solid job with a cat too. Let's sync these up. So you can see it follows the movement really well. Obviously, there's still a little bit of morphing, but as far as these types of models go, I mean, it even cleaned up the grass. You know, the grass in this one is pretty bad. It cleaned it up and made the grass look better. So it actually looks like it's trained on animals pretty well. So that is it for this video. This workflow is a bit finicky. There's definitely VRAM issues, but it's kind of the price we pay for trying to be on the bleeding edge of things. As always, if you have questions, you can either leave them in the comments, or I really encourage you to go join our Discord. There's a lot of great stuff happening in that community, and I really want to see it grow to a space where people can be comfortable asking questions, getting tech support, sharing their art, and just enjoying themselves. Follow me on my other socials. I have an Instagram and TikTok going where I'll be putting out content. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this helps. I hope you can make some cool stuff. Share it with me in Discord or on another social if you decide to post it. And I will talk to you again next time.